radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network.
All right. Good evening, Fade to Black. How you doing? Today is Thursday, August 28th, 2025. I am your host, Jimmy Church. It is the end of my week. That's right. It is my Friday. It's your Thursday. You still got to go to work tomorrow, kids. Yeah. There you go. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, and it has been an amazing week here on Fade to Black. And I got to tell you, technical challenges every day. Things just have been really strange with drivers and software and cameras. And I have cameras in here, right? And it looks like, well, see, it's like in a weird position because I've been back here working on the cameras. And look, I got one camera that's, messed up, huh? That's kind of cool. But anyway, just things every day. The teleprompter last night, yesterday just stopped working, and it's just one thing after another. Now, I've sort of got everything back. A couple of things before I bring Scott in. Earlier today, I'm not going to give the specific time, but I was in here working and in the studio trying to get things up and running. And I heard this rumble, loud, house is shaking. And it was a jet and an aircraft. And I ran outside and I saw the most incredible thing. I'm not going to say what time it was. These are people testing advanced systems, but man alive, I could not believe how fast this thing was going. Went over my house and then made a U-turn and then went back the other way, ripping. So when this pilot, Ken Priest is in the chat. All right. And what's up, everybody? How you guys doing and all of that stuff? Ken Priest is in the chat. And just to tell you guys what is going on, you hear me talking about this stuff all the time. And I just said in the chat, I'm having a dinner party. Ken, both Lisas are going to be here. You're going to fly out. And I know he will. Ken has been here before. And when Ken arrived at my house, he comes in the front door. I think Lisa was here already, Lisa Reed. And we were waiting for people to get here at around 4 p.m. I think he got here at like 3. Lisa got here at like 2. But anyway, Lisa was here. Ken walks in the house. I said, hey, man, what's going on? And, it's good to see you. Hugs, all that stuff. And I said, let me give you a tour of the house. He's like, screw that. Let's go to Skunk Works. And I was like, all right, let's go. And I popped Ken in the Jeep. And we took off and, went down the street to Skunk Works. And, I said, there it is. He goes, holy crap, it's close. I said, yeah. He goes, well, I hear you saying it all the time. I didn't believe you. I said, no, it's right here. So that's how close it is. And I'm telling you today, that jet, whoever the pilot was and whatever I couldn't see it. So I can't say what it was, but he jumped in that thing and hit full gas. It was crazy. It shook the house. Yeah. I haven't heard anything like that in quite a while. It was pretty impressive. And I wish Ken, I wish you were here. So, Ken, back me up on that story. Ken, back me up to that story. In the chat, go, yeah, that actually happened. That was the day. So Ken and I come back home about 30 minutes later. We pull in the driveway and we come in the front door and Lisa is freaking out. Oh my God. I go, what? She goes, there's somebody upstairs. I go, no, there's not. Yeah, there is. There's footsteps upstairs. And Ken and I are standing there. I go, that's the ghost. Ah, she's freaking out. And Ken and I had to walk upstairs with Lisa to show her that there was nobody here. But that was that day. It was an incredible day. Ken, I can't wait to see you. Well, I'll send you the info on the dinner party. We'll get you out here. So anyway, what was I? Oh yeah. This week on Fade to Black. So dealing with all these technical issues, but we got through the week. Monday night, we had John B. Alexander here. Incredible conversation with John B. Alexander. First time he was on the show, too, as well. And then Amy Westmoreland was here on Tuesday. Oh, I've got an update on Amy. So Amy came on Manifesting Life, and we did a unexpected check manifestation. You guys remember that? All right. It happened to me today in the mail. And I opened this thing up and I just kind of thought, you know, what? No. And I opened it and I looked, I was going to bring it in here. I already deposited it. I was going to bring it in here and show it on camera, but yeah. And then this just happened 30 minutes ago. And I went to text Amy to tell her what happened. It was just incredible. So yeah, I hope you did it. And if you did, check your mail. Yeah, man. Yeah, man. I'm not going to say how much it was, but it was good. It was good. And for me to go, yeah, it was good. It was good. There was a few zeros. All right. Where am I at? What am I doing? Oh, John B. Alexander, Amy Westmoreland. Last night, Daryl Anka was here. Wow. He had me going last night. That was an incredible conversation. But tonight, we are going to talk pyramid research with Scot Guariglia tonight. And yeah, this is going to be an incredible show. And I'm going to bring Scott in here in just a second. I do want to mention all of the events that I have coming up, like the Conscious Life Expo, the Contact Modalities Expo. It looks like there may be an issue with Contact in the Desert. I'm double booked on that weekend. I'm going to see if I can leave Peru a little early to get back for Contact in the Desert. So I'm working on that. But I come back from that and I head back south to Peru for the Inca Celebration of the Sun. And then I head over to the UK for the Monty Python tour of Scotland. And then back from that and then back to Peru and Easter Island. All of these are in 2026. And the links are for everything are below. Now, back to Scott. Scott and I are going to talk tonight about how the energy of a pi ratio pyramid sparked a decades-long journey through sacred geometry. We're going to do all of this tonight. Yeah, Metatron's cube. We're going to jump into that. I've got some images, too, we're going to share with you about the work that he is doing. It's pretty incredible. Now, the links for everything for Scott are below. So we are going to do that. And also, I want to mention he is going to be appearing at the 6th International Scientific Pyramid Conference. And the date on this, I'm going to get from Scott here in a second, but this is just outside of Chicago, my hometown. So I'd like to bring in Scot Guariglia. Scott, what's going on, young man?
Hey, it's nice to meet you here.
Yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
You got to love technology, Scott.
Yeah.
Before we start the show, you get the first-time guest disclaimer. So let's get that out of the way so we can start the show. And Scott, here's the disclaimer. It's just you and I sitting on my couch having a conversation as friends. And where the conversation starts, it starts. Where it ends, it ends. But we're going to end as friends. So you have to accept so we can move on.
I do accept. Thank you.
Oh, easy. That was simple. What's the date before we get started? What's the date on the Pyramid Conference in Chicago?
That's the September 26th through the 29th of
September
September.
26th through the 29th. All right. So happens to be the same weekend I'm going to be in San Diego, so I can't fly out to Chicago. I was born in Waukegan, by the way.
Oh, boy.
In Chicago. But the conference looks and sounds amazing. But I know where I want to start. I do. I know where I want to start tonight. I want to start with the 1976 book, Pyramid Power.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, right.
Flanagan.
That book. Okay, so I was a kid. You and I are the same age. All right. So, but when that book came out in 1976, I was like 13 years old, right? 13 years old. And in our neighborhood, the adults that were there, I call them adults. I was 13. They were probably in their 20s, whatever, the parents and stuff, 30 years old. Everybody had a copy of that book. Everybody was talking about that book. There were people on the Mike Douglas show sharpening razor blades with their pyramids, right? And my dad had the book. And my dad says to my stepmother one day, I overhear this conversation, and he goes, "Let's put a pyramid above our waterbed. I know where to get one." And I was like, this stuff is out of control. But the mystery of it, right? The magic of it grabbed hold of me, right? Keeping fruit fresh and meat fresh, all these things about.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that you've read it. And you can't say that you haven't. But
Pyramid Power and Beyond Pyramid Power. There's two books.
Right. Did it change things for you? Did that start the balls rolling?
Oh, it sure did. That launched me off, and you got it on the mark. That's where I really began the journey in earnest and very focused to really determine what the heck is behind this mysterious force that I felt when I made these little pyramids. It was crazy.
Now, okay, so I was 13 when the book came out. How old were you?
Probably around that age. I don't know.
Yeah. And everybody, now here's, as we jump into this, because Pyramid Power, and for those in the audience that are either too young to know about the book or have never heard about the book, I'm going to say that book, that was a huge bestseller. And what it did across this country, unless you were around and experienced it, you don't really have any idea. But everybody was talking about that book. It was tremendously influential on the country and the world at that time, wasn't it? It was incredible what that book did.
It was. Even little retail stores were picking up versions of pyramids and selling them with necklaces and that kind of thing. I thought, wow, this is pretty cool.
Yeah, well, and then you combine that obviously with Egypt and pyramids and the mystique and the mystery behind that. It all rolled into one. It was like, what did the ancients know? What is the deal with the pyramid? And could it be something that taps into energy sources, not only for us now, right? Building a pyramid and putting it above your waterbed, all the way back to ancient times. And how could the ancients know about this technology? It really grabbed hold of us, didn't it?
It did. Do you know what pyramid stands for? The word?
You're going to tell me. I think I know.
Pura, fire in the middle. Fire in the middle. That's your life force. It's imbuing life force into the core of your physiology, basically, and potentially even your spirit. So it's a broad spectrum, like an Energizer battery that's plugged into a circuit, but you're plugged into quantum state.
Last night, in the great courses, Bob Baer, he's an Egyptologist professor out here in California, very smart guy, and his knowledge, he doesn't go into the mystical with his knowledge of Egypt and ancient Egypt. His knowledge is tremendous. The facts that I get out of him are what I appreciate the most. But he doesn't, the mystical part. So I'm listening to Bob last night for the 100th time. He's talking about the Great Pyramid. And this is what he said. This is a college level course on Egyptology. Okay. This is what he says. He goes, now, despite what people have thought and have been told from books like Pyramid Power, I'm not making this up, right? That there are special energies with the shape and the geometry of a pyramid. The Egyptians didn't know anything about that. The shape of the pyramid came from work and tragedy and collapsing of construction, and they eventually landed on the perfect pyramid shape that didn't fall down. That's it. No magic. This is it. There's no magic. There's no aliens involved. It wasn't a tremendous amount of engineering. No, it was hard work. And that's where, and I'm like, I've been there. Well, so was he. I'm not really buying what he's saying. It's weird, right? How we have orthodox academia just won't go into that zone, will they?
No, they will not. It scares them to death for some reason.
Well, why do you think that is?
I think it all resolves down to such personal power that we can derive of it. I think it scares people. It really does. There even individuals that are afraid of the personal power that they have within themselves, that divinity, that when you're looking at it directly, when you strip away this physical form and you're just this spiritual consciousness, things take on a whole new meaning.
What was your I can only imagine. It's not about me, it's about you. Did you have a first experience with the power of a pyramid?
Well, first I made one when I was about 13 years old out of a milk carton, and I was enamored by the breeze that I seemed to feel over the top of it, like this weird little cooling effect. That's what tripped me off. And then when I saw the Pyramid Power book and I got the dimensions for creating my own, I started making them out of PVC pipe and wood and this kind of thing. And at one point, I had my wife get in the pyramid, which was meditation size, one of the first ones that I made. And she goes, oh my goodness. She says, there's something wrong with the baby. She was pregnant with my first son. And I said, well, go out on the porch for a little bit and it'll subside. Because I realized at that point in time, usually the effects would trail off after about 45 minutes. That guy could see energy better than anybody I've ever met in my entire life. These open-faced forms, pyramid, people, everything. When he was a little kid, like 8 years old, he could teach me about energy and how to position those forms perfectly so that those, like with the dodecahedron has 12 faces, and he told me precisely geographically how to position that so that the colors that he saw would lock instead of flipping back and forth between different faces of it. But the pyramid starts everything for meditation. I used to use it after work every day. It would regenerate it made me feel like I just got up in the morning, even after I had a long day at work, in about 20 minutes to 30 minutes. So I did that every single day. I've been working with this for 50 years. And then eventually I started to externalize it. It's like, how can I use this in daily life? That's where things started to get really strange. But sacred geometry is the common thing to everything. I went to Egypt a couple of years ago and met William Brown as well. I heard Trevor mention him the other night on the broadcast.
Yeah. William's amazing.
He is. He's an awesome guy. And I discovered some, I hate to say it, but past life stuff. It's amazing. There's a whole story about that as well.
Wait. No. You don't get to blow past that. What happened?
Well, one time.
Where were you? First off, where were you?
I went to Cairo. Yeah, I took a trip up to Alexandria, and out in the desert. Zach Fayed, was my guide, and he was recommended by William Brown. We all met there in Egypt, and went out there in the desert. I had visited the Great Pyramid and the other ones, and I didn't feel much more than what I feel in mine, which is peculiar because I thought, wow, that thing would blow me away after all these years. Now, previously, my son had a dream that he buried me as a pharaoh, which I thought was pretty interesting. He's a little kid, you know. He says, we had these, well, he described perfectly the god forms, like they were lined up, like the Anubis and these statues of representing what I think of as different aspects of our psychology, basically. And they were putting gold and all this stuff into these containers at the end. Well, I had this vision that I was laying on a flat platform, like a piece of wood or something, hanging from chains from inside the apex area of a pyramid. And then I came out of the body like a wisp. I could see the wisp that I was in spirit, saw the mummy. I went up above it, looked down, and I thought, that's kind of the crappiest looking pyramid I've ever seen compared to these really cool ones that we see, like the Great Pyramid. And you could imagine how it was when it was first made. And I thought, I wonder, because I went through those bigger pyramids, and this one was huge, but it wasn't as big as the Great Pyramid, for example. But I wondered, how could this be that it would be hollowed out inside, that you could actually hang a platform in there? Sure enough, we get to this, I think it was the Bent Pyramid. Anyway, King Senefru was the guy that was associated. And the energy just blew me away. And then our guide, Zach, he takes me to this place. He said, this is where the pharaoh is disemboweled. And there's these ornate stones with all the hieroglyphics. And I put my head up against it and my hands against the stones. I swear to God, it felt like I was the stones themselves, almost like there was no differentiation. It's beyond logic. But in the Cairo Museum, I'm walking along and I see this wall to my left. And I told my friend that I brought there, I said, whatever is behind this wall is associated with that King Senefru, I can guarantee it. We went around there, and that was the gateway to the afterworld that they had extracted and put in the museum. Massive stones, all covered with the hieroglyphics and everything. But if you look at the sacred geometrical aspect of all these finds in Cambodia, all the pyramids, everything to do with Atlantis, every cell in your body, every flower, everything in creation that nature produces or God, it is always based on sacred geometry every time. We wouldn't function or exist without it. So that's where I got inspired to move forward with the dodecahedron, which is the shape of our DNA, basically. And my son, when I first built that, he says, Dad, I see these lights coming out of it. I said, what's that about? He says, well, they're going up to the four corners of the ceiling of the room. I thought, it took me 10 minutes to register. I thought, that's got to be entities. I got to ask these guys if I can communicate with them. So I did. I said, give me a message, something, if you guys are able to hear me. And he says, slowly, they've moved together and aggregated into the form of a dolphin. And that began a 9-month communication with these entities of some sort, which was very educational, but I didn't feel like they really understood our physical reality that well. They were a bit demanding at some point later on, and I actually kicked them out of my reality. And said that was it, because they wanted me to buy some property and put up well, they actually drew maps. I mean, my son drew this on a notebook, a map showing the location of where I was to build this house. And I went out there. Sure enough, it's a vacant lot where they were beginning to build a house. They wanted me to put quartz crystals from Arkansas and line this room completely with crystals, they said. Well, I didn't have the money to do that, and I had to get a van and all that. I didn't have the capacity to pull that off. And I thought, what would that really have accomplished anyway? I don't know. But anyway, they could go to a theater and say, we recommend this for your kids because there's this show playing, and we think that would benefit them. But everything that he translated to me was written before his eyes as light in free space. It's like, I've never read that anywhere since, ever. And that's been, God, that's like 40 some years ago.
I'm listening to that. That's absolutely incredible. The past life part, I have a friend that builds pyramids, right? And they build two kinds: the tall Nubian style, right, and then the Great Pyramid angles. On that one, I would say for the more traditional, looking pyramid. But I was inside of the Nubian one, and I had the crazy. It's only happened to me one time in my life like this. It was pretty insane. So I'm sitting in that thing, and I close my eyes. I've got noise canceling headphones on with, some kind of music coming through. I really wasn't paying attention to it, but I closed my eyes, and I can't even explain it. I'm going to make this really quick. I don't want to get too involved with this, but I show up as an audience person standing on the side of the road with thousands and thousands of other people watching a parade in ancient Egypt. And I'm standing there with everybody around me, and they're marching by. They have these floats. They were like covered in gold. It's hard to explain. But anyway, and I'm standing there just looking at everybody else, and we're watching the parade, and I'm like, yeah, it was like, wow. So I was there, and at the end of that, and I thought I watched that parade for hours. And I did watch it for hours. Eventually the music stops, and I open my eyes. I'm like, where am I? What? And I said, how long? And they said 15 minutes. I was there 15 minutes. That was it. And I watched that parade for hours. I can't explain it. I know it sounds strange and weird, but I don't know if that was a past life, but it was vivid and it was fun. It was very cool. And I don't know what did it. Was it the pyramid? I don't know. Was it I don't know, but it was insane to experience.
My experiences are like that too. I actually felt like I went into alternate realities. One time I woke up in my basement in the pyramid recharging, and I swear I was literally as aware as I am now. And I get up, and there's this girl in the basement, and she had this bright, like clear skin. Just gorgeous. She holds out her forearm. I said, how'd you get in here? She says, feel me, I'm real. And I touched her skin. It was like translucent. I mean, you could practically see through it. And I've never forgot it. It was just amazing. It was as if literally I was in this reality, but I wasn't. It was just a few subtle changes. And then somehow I clicked back into my body. I don't remember. That's been like 40 years ago. But some of these entry-level experiences taught me that we're dealing with something here that transcends this reality.
What's the difference in between a dodecahedron and the pyramid? What's the difference in their actions?
You bet. Well, the pyramid, as I was mentioning before, charges your body with energy, fire in the middle. The dodecahedron, being in the shape of our DNA, is the interface between the quantum state and this reality. Now, if you look at, this is my inspiration was Plato. The platonic solids are named after Plato. Platonic solid is defined as any form where every side length and angle throughout the form is the same. There's only 5 you can create in physical reality that meets that criteria. Only 5. The cube is one of them. But there's an energetic association with each of those forms. So the cube is the earth energy, tetrahedron's fire, icosahedron's water, and the octahedron is air, earth, air, fire, and water. The 5th element is literally the etheric quantum realm. That's the interface between quantum state, non-local reality, and ours. So when you're in there, what it does with everybody 100% is it opens up the meridian channels of the body so that your life force flows more prolifically to sustain your physiology. But that's just the tip of the iceberg because you can walk between worlds with that thing. I was inspired to build it by this man who was considered to be a sacred scientist, and he was studying the form of the dodecahedron. He had this device he referred to as the Genesis machine. And in that device, you laid on a table, and it had this geometric pattern around it. It was not even symmetrical. And he said, if anybody ever built one in the shape of this dodecahedron, it'd be more powerful than this thing. And that thing cost him like over $10,000-$15,000. They had CRT monitors that would monitor your auric feedback from your response to music, and then it would subconsciously enhance your physiology to balance out the chakra energy systems by enhancing the lower spectrum of the music, which I didn't get into that at all. But what I did is I designed an entire system, and he came over and actually slept in it overnight around the dodecahedron, which I put on a floating platform on inner tubes. And I built the table from scratch, the dodecahedron around it. I put crystal spheres on all the nodal points, which actually those anchor those nodal points into the quantum realm. So what this did with high frequency transducers, 2 subwoofers on 2 different axes in the base of this thing, you're acoustically resonant to the form itself as you lay on the table. I used that thing for decades and decades. And he said he had visions of entities all night long that were loving and healing. And he had the best experience of his life in that dodecahedron.
What does your wife make of all this?
Well, I was actually married twice. My second wife passed away about 8 months or about 8 years ago.
Okay.
And
sorry.
Thanks. But I had the dodecahedron set up in the basement. And if I had that thing completely together, it energized both of us, but she wouldn't tolerate it. So she'd say, you gotta take that thing down. So I'd pull 3 elements out of it to deactivate it, and then she could sleep. But I'll tell you what, she'd hit it 100% every single time. So you got that thing up, don't you?
Man. Well, let me pop up this image really quick so everybody can understand what we're talking about. Yeah, walk everybody through this, and then we'll continue the conversation. But what are we looking at here?
This is the most magnificent thing I've ever experienced ever. So you take the 5 platonic solids. That's what you're looking at here. So you've got the cube and the tetrahedron, the icosahedron, the octahedron, all the 5 platonic solids. But I also added a ring, if you look at it, that goes around the whole circumference of this thing. That accounts for the space-time curvature in quantum space, and it also harmonizes the energies of these forms, because typically in space, that curvature of space-time gets to be a big deal, like with gravity bending light around the sun and this and that. So in quantum state, people go on journeys in this thing. And my favorite is when they see the light. So what I do is I play inspirational music, not religious, but it's just inherent in the harmonics. Believe it or not, when I worked with the pyramid originally, ABBA was my favorite. I had, the Arrival album and this and that, because the harmonics, this is the way I worked with it. I developed a breathing pattern. I kind of bouncing around, but all this stuff's interrelated. So this breathing pattern, I breathe real deep. Imagine the point of light. Now this is in the pyramid. Point of light connected to the 4 corners of the earth. That's what it symbolizes. It's the singularity to the event horizon, basically. So I'm focusing on this point of light, breathing in as I expand out into the universe. This is the way I envision it till I feel it. And I'm going out and out as far as I can get within like 4 or 5 minutes. Then I focus on that point of light. Like, that is me. I want to go through that point. When I went through it, that's where I found these alternate realities. But in here, I'll have a person in there. This form has a distinct energy. A friend of mine said she could feel it 2 blocks away with nobody in it. But when somebody's in there, it like doubles the field density. I'm very sensitive to energy, And that's another byproduct of working with the pyramid for so many years, because I can feel energy so prolifically. I feel the overlap of their consciousness go in, like into my consciousness, like we're merging. But this system, the embodiment of the primordial energies of creation, because earth, air, fire, water, and the quantum state, that's all the elements here. So this is like the beginning. It's like in the beginning was the word. The word is what I feel in there. When somebody's in there, their consciousness merges with that field, and that becomes the actual starship itself. But it overlaps my consciousness. Most people see me in quantum state. This is what, in the last 4 months, this blows me away. Like, I had a guy down in Florida. I took this down to Florida and set it up. I was running around the block, met this guy that worked at Kennedy Space Center. He built those launch pads out there in a modular fashion, described how he did that and all. This fascinating discussion. Said, hey, I got this really cool thing over here, described what this was. So he was going to come over, actually broke his ankle on the way over and couldn't have a session. 3.5 weeks later, in a cast, he comes over and he got in there. And he says, I feel these waves of like energy going through my legs. I mean, immediately within 10 seconds. Within 2 days, that guy was walking, didn't need the cast anymore. It was amazing. But God,
are those copper pipes?
Yes, there's in this form 330 feet of copper pipe. There's 50 connectors in there as well. Originally, I soldered all the connectors together myself and put crystals in them. But then I found a company that could print them. And then I contemplated whether or not that would be as effective. So I put together my first dodecahedron with the printed connectors, which I have crystals in all those too. And I found, whoa, that thing works just as good or better than the pure copper. So that made it a lot easier for me to have this look so pretty and refined like it does.
Yeah, it's incredible. Home Depot must love you. You buy them out of copper pipe. I can only imagine.
I pretty much do.
Yeah. So my friend that builds these explained to me the same principles. Now, he's only building two kinds of pyramids, right? I told you, the Nubian and the conventional. And the Senefre. I like that. He's not my favorite pharaoh, but he was pretty badass. He was he really was. He was a very smart guy. Looked like a geek though. When you look at the images of him, he's not the mighty strong pharaoh. He's kind of weenie. He's kind of a weenie guy. But anyway, he explained to me his process because I wanted to build. I still do. I want to put one in my house. I want to put it upstairs in my gym. And my gym has like 15-foot ceilings in it. So I have all that gym equipment in there, but I'm thinking about building something around maybe 15 feet by 15 feet by whatever height that is. And then move the gym equipment in and around it, but then have a spot in the middle because I have a room that's a huge room. The room itself is probably 25 feet by 25 feet, right? Nice. With a 2-story ceiling in it. So I have the room to put something really ginormous in there. So I was talking to my friend and he said that he went to a manufacturer to have his stuff 3D printed, all of his joints or whatever connectors at the right degree. That's not off the shelf parts, and he tried to do it for a long time that way, but now he had to do the same thing. He's got them 3D printed.
Interesting. It works really well. You just can't put them out in the sun down here in Mississippi because that sun will put them over 150 degrees just sitting out on a table, and then they start to deform. So I say with these, just keep them in a normal environment and they should last for a really long time. But
how do you get into this?
That's the big question everybody asked me. Originally,
it looks pretty difficult.
I didn't even think this would be possible. I had a friend who, she told me, I'm channeling Metatron. She says, literally the angel Metatron. He wants you to do this, because I'd been talking about the potentiality of doing it. And I thought, my God, how would anybody ever get into that thing? Even if I could, I mean, we have a hard enough time getting into the dodecahedron, let alone 5 forms. What I did is I created a system where we have some breakaway pipes, as I call them, in there. So they disconnect easily and everything opens up for a window of access. That makes it, I've had older people, just got to be really careful and slow about it. One thing I was going to mention before, and then I got sidetracked, I always try to take people to the light. And this is the coolest thing ever. If you get so inspired that you feel your energy just rise, like this is an emotional thing. And I've really come down to the conclusion that God is an emotion, the emotion of love. So the more you can connect in that regard, you just keep going higher and higher and higher. But in between songs, I have to hold that frequency of their consciousness at that state. So their consciousness overlaps mine, but I direct them to the light. And most people do see me. They'll say, well, there's this door with this light and you held your hand out. Or I said, come on and have fun. And they see the light. This one guy says, I'm in the Starship and I'm headed straight towards the light. It's very, very identical to a near-death experience. They have past life reviews. They review their current life, that life review they talk about. They see the light. They go towards the light. It's everything like a near-death experience, except your body is regenerating because it's laying there in a perfect state of bliss, actually becoming more harmonically attuned to the, I would say, sacred geometrical aspects of what we're made of. Typically in daily life, stress and emotional trauma builds up in our energetic field. It can manifest as physical dysfunction at some point. So what we want to do is get rid of that. And when you're in there and people see this, they say, I see all these dark clouds coming out of my body, and they just go out through the forms and then they're gone. And then they come out and they go, that's the calmest I've ever felt my entire life. It's absolute magic. It gives me chills. It typically makes people cry because of the intensity of the love that they feel when they get close to the light. And it's so healing. Every aspect of our physiology is dependent on that sacred geometrical component to all the atoms and cells and everything that makes us up. Now, AI refers to it as a harmonic mirror. It allows us to see ourselves for who we truly are underneath all the programming. It's very similar to before we're born, where we're looking at each other as, I don't know if you remember before you were born. I remember when I was in the queue waiting to be born. And we were all so excited about this new life. I was just sitting on the doorstep, it's like imagining what we could do with it. But in that reality, you're like music and light, even beyond what we can imagine here, communicating in perfect communication. And speaking of communication, I was in this dodecahedron before I built this form, 480 miles from a friend. I saw her in quantum state. She was evidently dozing off, saw me at the exact same time, and texted me within like 30 or 40 seconds, said, oh my God, I just saw you. I said, now you know how this works.
Two things come to mind. Okay, two things come to mind. One, I would like to climb into that and listen to Van Halen.
You could.
I'm not. Jimmy's not laughing, Scott. Jimmy's not laughing.
You betcha.
I would like to experience the harmonic resonance of that. But also, what about, I know it's not needed, but what about DMT?
Ah, yes, sir.
Right?
I believe this thing's releasing it naturally.
Sure.
Yeah. So people have vivid visions. And when I see them, oh my gosh, it's like when my grandpa died, I saw him weeks later, and his face was like brilliant light, just the biggest smile, just exuding that positive love energy. My grandpa was more like my dad than my dad. My dad was always at work, and I actually went and worked with my grandpa because he was a business owner and I admired him, and we did things together continually. But when I see people in quantum state, I never know what I'm going to see, what they're going to look like. And that's always exciting to me. It's like an idealized form, but it expresses their passion. It's like that vibrance of their core energy just blasting out in colors and vibrancy. They're still recognizable, but, well, this was cool. That guy that built the launch pads, when I saw him, this has never happened before. I'm looking at this guy in quantum state, and I see these multicolored spheres, like little ping pong balls right in front of his face. They're like 6 inches from his face. I thought, oh my God, if those things don't move, he isn't going to be able to see into the universe like I'd like him to see. This is the only time I've ever interjected in anyone's experience, because those things wouldn't move. So I willed them to move out of his way just a little bit. Didn't want to dissolve them or anything. And then they slowly floated back. This happened 3 times. Afterward, he said, those things moved out of the way 3 times. I said, yeah, no, I was helping you at that point. It's just
so
cool.
he could see. Are his eyes closed or open?
Absolutely closed. Yeah, they're.
So he could see him. You could see. Were your eyes closed or open?
Yes, they're closed. You have to.
Yours are so both of you, with your eyes closed, saw the same thing.
Oh yes, yes.
Wow.
Absolutely. This is getting to be more normal than not.
You know,
I go
hey,
between.
man, I'm all about the woo, Scott. I'm all about
That's
the woo.
good.
What about somebody that's not into the woo? Do they still
Well,
the experience is stronger than their non-woo-ness?
I've tested that theory. I took the dodecahedron and a sound system, because I've always got music with this. Took it down to Florida, set it up in front of a natural health food store. And the way I got into that was that I went into the owner and I said, have you ever experienced what sacred geometry or the energy of the pyramid would feel like? He goes, wow, it's funny you mentioned that. He had a little toy that was based on that somebody had given him. I can set my pyramid up. It doesn't even have connectors. The design that I have, I can set it up in 10 seconds. Set that up on the floor. He got in there within less than 60 seconds. He goes, oh my God, we're going to set a tent out front for you to show people that just come into the store. So I said, well, I got this dodecahedron. You got to check that out. He says, cool. So I showed him that. So people just coming in, I'd say, I got this dodecahedron. I had a pyramid up front, but I really wanted to give them this dodecahedron experience. So I'd tell these people, I'd say, this will probably give you more energy. And it's a real nice experience. What do you think of it? And they're kind of enamored by the shape. They go, sure. A few of these people, every single one of them gave me a testimonial, bar none. I've got those on TikTok and Facebook as well, but every single one of them. But what was really cool is you got all this traffic. You've got foot traffic moving in and out at the front of that store. And yet, at least 2 or 3 of those people saw the light. This one guy goes, I thought the sun was shining underneath the overhang, but she says, now that I'm out, I see that it was not, quote. Now, here's another thing that I'm going to tell you. This is wild, man. My friend, I said, watch me in this dodecahedron because weird stuff could happen. Like, tell me if you see any entities or anything coming through this thing. Like, thinking about what my son saw. Now, rarely had I seen the light myself, but it happened that time. I saw the light. You'll actually, if you get close, you can feel the warmth of it. It's exactly like the sun, but if you open your eyes, it's gone and probably won't get it back. I'm getting better at holding it, but I saw the light. I thought, oh my God, this ought to be good. I asked her, I said, what did you see? She thought about it. She says, your whole body lit up. Then I thought about the apostles and the reference with the halos, indicating the aura of these people that are connected to the divine. It's amazing, all these parallels. And it also reminded me of falling from grace, that they say, actually, we've actually crystallized into this reality. It's a decoherence that causes that. If because I asked AI, I said, if I was perfectly coherent, would I cease to exist in this reality? And it affirmed that. I thought maybe that's what happened to the Mayans. I don't know. But in order for us to exist here, this decoherence is an absolute necessity. It is kind of like the foundational influences to how we crystallize light into physical form. This is all about decoding reality. I had noticed at one point long ago, I was diagnosed with leukemia, actually cured it myself. That's a whole nother interview. But anyway, I wanted to find out the cure for aging. And I thought, we've got to go beyond what is known in this reality to even approach that. So I thought, what if we could remolecularize our body upon the etheric template that defines where every cell propagates within the body?
Did you say remolecularize?
Yeah. I don't even know if that's a word.
What the hell? Is that a word?
I don't know. But I'm using it.
I think I've said demolecularize in the past, just kind of joking, but I've never heard anybody use it in a sentence like that. It was pretty cool.
Well, thanks. Yeah, that's the way I think of it. But I thought
demolecularize. That's a tough word to say too. You don't want to be drinking, and when you need to say that word, you'll never get it out. But continue. Remolecularize. Love it. Continue.
Well, as you know, the kings and pharaohs were big into the immortality thing, and I am too. I'm actually 68, and I got to tell you, I got no doc, I got no meds, I got no problems. I ran in the Senior Olympics 5 years ago just for fun. The only race I've ever run. It was a 200-meter sprint. I got the silver medal. I was freaked out though. I was starting that 200 meters with my heart running full blast already. We had people from all over the nation competing for that as well. But I've got a process whereby I believe it's empowering. I actually had a guy call me to maybe train some semi-pro boxers as to how to project energy. I can do a few things in the gym that I've never seen anybody be able to do. One of those is an inverted pull-up, which I'm completely inverted, upside down, my body straight up and down vertical. I can do like up to 24 reps on that puppy.
Can you really? Yeah. Today I was at the Harley dealer, my local Harley dealer, right? Getting some work done. And I had to test drive my bike real quick, and I was going to drive around the dealer. Well, I did. So I jump on my bike, throw on my skull cap, but I've got a cigarette hanging out of my mouth, right? And so I take off, and I got big heater hanging out of my mouth, and there's a cop in the parking lot as I came around the building, and I went right by his car, and I looked right at him with this cigarette hanging out of my mouth on my Harley. And I looked and I went, man, what does he think of? What is he seeing? Just with a cigarette hanging out of my. And I thought, man, is that the image I need to project on society? You're mentioning the 200-yard dash, right?
Uh-huh.
I'd have to do it with the cigarette hanging out of my mouth. I don't know if I could do it. Maybe I could. I'd be the only guy. I'd be in last place. But I'd have a heater going. Good on you, though. I mean, to go and do all of, when we look at this idea, I had mentioned earlier about the, self-sharpening razor blades and fruit and vegetables and meat, staying fresh. Is that bullshit?
No.
Or is that real?
Here's what I did back in the day when I was first playing with this stuff. And remind me, I got to tell you about a study from a year and a half ago about mitochondrial energy. But anyway, I put an egg in there, fresh egg, raw egg, and I had it in a dish. It crystallized in the pyramid. I put those crystals in a baggie, saved them for a year. Had a friend of mine, my dentist, was a personal friend. And I said, how about I bring that thing over? We'll stir that up, because I was telling him about it. I thought, what the heck? So we put some water in there, and it took about a half an hour, 45 minutes to reconstitute it. We cooked it. It tastes like just a fresh egg.
It did not. No.
After a year. It was
No,
amazing.
no. Your dentist did that?
Yeah, we all
Your
tasted
dentist ate a remolecularized egg.
constitute.
That was that was crystallized for
Yeah.
a year in a bag.
Yep.
You brought it back to life. I'm assuming you cooked it.
Yes. Yeah, it
Okay.
smelled like a fresh egg when we cooked it. That's why it's like
No, it did. Scott. It's
It was
okay
amazing.
that you did it, but don't tell me it tasted good
It
and
did.
nobody got sick.
It's
It
like
smelled great.
the equivalent of freeze dried.
Oh my God. So but I remember that. It was like the Mike Douglas show. You know, and you remember Mike Douglas, right?
Yes.
And God, there's you know what? That shows our age right there. 90% of this audience just went, "Who's Mike Douglas?" Right? I guarantee it. Mike Douglas owned daytime television forever. I mean, that was it until like Phil Donahue or whatever came after that. But Mike Douglas, man, Dinah Shore, what was that show called? Dinah. But on Mike Douglas would do this kind of stuff all the time. He had a pretty good open mind. I think he was out of Philadelphia or something, Pittsburgh. Or no, was he Chicago? Man, I can't remember. But he did a whole Pyramid Power episode, and I was just a kid.
Huh.
And that was my first experience of normies, right? Talking about this, this fantastic new subject and technology, and that meat could stay fresh if it was kept under a pyramid. Have you done the meat experiment? X is not enough.
That scares me.
Yeah. I wouldn't be. No. Let your dog be the taste tester there. Let's take our break. We're going to continue. This is a fun conversation, and for everybody, I'm going to pop this up. This is some of Scott's work. Now he has been perfecting and experimenting with this for a very long time. When we come back after the break, I want to talk to Scott about the process of this and how we get stuff done. Scott, you stay right there. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black. Stay with us. We'll be back right after this short break. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to get your alerts and access to over 2,000 videos. Click that subscribe button right now. Go to jimmychurchradio.com and get the Fade to Black official podcast. 2,000 episodes, all of them commercial free for just $2 a month. Watch Into the Vortex on Gaia TV. It's Fade to Black for the screen. Simple to do. Go to Gaia.com, search Jimmy Church, or click on the link below. Follow Fade to Black on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Get all of the show updates every single day. It's now called X, but who cares? How you doing? Jimmy Church here. Special announcement. Get your Fade to Black t-shirts. That's right. Help support the show. Help support everything that we do over here. We've got 2 t-shirts. We've got 2 ways to get them. Get your Fade to Black t-shirt today. Go Beckley Tappy. Go to jimmychurchradio.com and become a Fadernaut. Get a membership. That's right. Everything is commercial free. You have access to downloads, and you get to call yourself a Fadernaut. Jimmy Church, Guy TV, Fade to Black, here at Machu Picchu with Brian Forster and Hidden Inca Tours. Amazing tour so far, Brian, but we're here to announce what we're going to do next year in 2026. What's going on?
Okay, November 2026, we're going to have our major tour of Peru and Bolivia, either a pre or post tour of Paracas and Nazca on the coast. And then after that, 6 days in Easter Island.
Bucket list, Easter Island. Come join Brian and I and his amazing team here at Hidden Inca Tours for Peru, Bolivia, and Easter Island. Signing out. Say goodbye, Brian.
Bye, gang.
River Moon Coffee, makers of the Fade to Black blend. Truly the best coffee on planet Earth. Just visit rivermoonwellness.com or their Amazon store. It's all simple to do. You can check out the Fade to Black blend, the Game Changer blend, or any of their Black Moon Wellness products. It's the only coffee I drink. It is the best, and it's Doc. Again, rivermoonwellness.com. All right. Welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Scot Guariglia is with us. We're talking about his pyramid research and the stuff that he is doing out there in Mississippi. I have the feeling Scott's a little bit off the grid. And
Yeah.
I'm looking at the room that you're in too as well. It reminds me a little bit of the room inside of the bent pyramid. It's kind of weird for me, but you've been experimenting and testing for decades now. What is the process with that? Do you come up with an idea? Do you rely specifically on sacred geometry, build something, and then how do you test it?
Well, I started with the pyramid, of course. Then I went to the dodecahedron. I gave intermittent sessions for people with the dodecahedron sound module that I created for about 40 years. And then I migrated to this shape here that I thought would be impossible to put all the platonic solids together and have all those energies at once. So I was accustomed to the dodecahedron, and that was very familiar. Another influence of the pyramid was that I saw the Anubis in a dream. If you can imagine a head of the Anubis the size of a skyscraper, I stood before this entity, which you got to remember, these are archetype, symbolic of aspects of our psychology, basically. We're projecting time and reality into this space for it to exist anyway. But I asked him, I said, you know, he's the guardian of the underworld. I said, can you give me my memories back from ancient Egypt and potentially Atlantis, because I've got a real intuitive feeling that I was in Atlantis. And actually, I had a meeting with Bashar, who introduced last night. I haven't listened to that show yet, but Daryl, when he first started his career, I was the one who recorded some of his first presentations, and that was in Peoria, Illinois back then. Oh my goodness, I could go into all that too. That's pretty cool.
That's interesting.
Yeah, the guy is just phenomenal.
Yeah, he's pretty cool. He's been a really good friend of mine for a very, very long time. And go and check out the conversation even for me, because Daryl and I have had hundreds of conversations over the years. And even I last night got stumped a couple of times. You know, and I really enjoy when that happens, because you have how many times can you come up with new and different questions to try to get information out of somebody like Daryl that is new to me? If it's new to me, then it's new to the audience, right?
That would make sense.
Yeah, and he did that over and over again last night. It was really cool. So go check it out. It was a fun conversation.
That's good.
So okay, so back to the dodecahedron.
Yes. Well, I asked the Anubis for my memories back and felt like there was a connection where that's recorded in my DNA. So it's my job in meditation to extract that information. I think that was part of what influenced me to build this thing as well. But my friend met with Metatron and all this came together, and I thought, I think it's impossible, but I'm going to try it. So I put this thing together to accentuate the experiences that I'd had over all those decades with the dodecahedron, having everything in balance here. And that's where everybody starts getting into this light, the experience of going to the light. One thing that's really unusual about the dodecahedron, it always made me feel really warm. Literally, I've got a thermal camera, and I wanted to see how hot I can make my hand. I got it up to 110.5 degrees one time. I did it on camera at 109, just concentrating that energy. Now, there was one time I was an ambassador for the Peoria Area Chamber of Commerce for many years. And we had a Christmas event. It was like a Christmas party, and I was really, really zinging with the energy from that dodecahedron. And I took just this regular guy and I said, I want to show you something here. I said, I've been working with this dodecahedron invention of mine, which like gives me this unusual power. And he says, okay. I said, just stand there very relaxed, relax your arm. And I knew if I imagined light streaming off the end of my fingers, that energy would follow that light like a lightsaber. So I started at his shoulder, went down his arm, and when I hit his wrist, he screamed like a little girl, like electrocuted him. He said, God, you shocked me, you know? He never talked to me again, but it was still worth it for the story when I think of it. But that dodecahedron, that thing has absolutely changed my life. So typically I sleep in this form half the night, and then I go sleep in a pyramid the other half of the night. A year and a half ago, a study was done, and you can find it on my website. I don't remember anything about it other than it's about cellular enhancement from the pyramid. Up to 35% more energy from mitochondrial activity, ATP production within those cells in 24 hours. Now they give a 4-hour point where it was 20% increase. Now you got to know if every cell in your body's got 20%, 25% more energy, that's your barrier against every disease known. I mean, it's always those thresholds that have to be breached in order for us to get sick. Now, when this takes away those emotional traumas and everything, and people come out and they're all renewed, it's the most incredible feeling you could ever have. So the process is when somebody comes in for a session, basically they need to just let go, because all you got to do is relax. And this music, I put on, see, I used to have the subwoofers in the table, but that was a 350-pound system and all the wires and amps and all that. I thought, this is not mobile. I can't do this anywhere else. So I just tore it down, sold it all. So, and this was my inspiration. I found this thing called a Wooger vest. Have you ever heard of that?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, Wooger vest has 6 transducers in it, haptic transducers. So I have people put this vest on. They'll still have the experience even if it doesn't work and they don't have it. But this really enhances it. So everything 200 hertz and below will be injected into your body. So it's like the music is coming from inside of you as well as your experience of it externally. You just dissolve into the music. That helps your consciousness merge with the primordial energies of creation as defined by the sacred geometrical forms in aggregate here as a system. So again, your consciousness merging with those primordial energies becomes the actual starship. I didn't invent these angles. The angles discovered by Plato are God's creation, and it's what the universe is made from. Even in dark matter, they're speculating now that it's actually a composite of these geometrics. And people with plant medicine, they have visions of these forms, and they have visions in here as well of the forms. It's almost identical to psychedelics, except there is nothing but pure energy. And I think literally, maybe that's how psychedelics work. It's the energy of that molecular structure that enhances the DMT release so that they can have this beyond the veil experience. So my client gets in here, I start that music up, I feel the energy density increase when they're emotionally engaged. I can put a scale from 1 to 10 and be 100% accurate as to how engaged they are with each song. So I play a song and I take a mental note of how engaged they were. And I point it in that direction to keep them as high vibe and as we can get. And then I hold that frequency between songs. But I don't want them to get emotionally fatigued, because if we kept playing the same thing over and over, that's going to happen. So I'll take a whole different flip, like some Mongolian music. I like stuff from India, Native American, sound of bees, sound of whales, testing what their response is to these things so I can tailor this thing after about 20 minutes specifically just for them and optimize that emotional experience, because the emotion is what drives you to the divine light. That doesn't mean you can't explore in between, because some people use it like a remote viewing situation. Had one gal, she said there was these etheric doctors that were all around me and they reached into me and they repaired whatever was wrong with her. She goes, now I feel well again. One gal said, and this happens to a lot of people, they say, we've had an out-of-body experience. This is prolific, and missing time is just, oh, that's going to follow you for days typically. There's so many aspects of this thing that are kind of like alien technology.
Well, you mentioned Starship a couple of times now. Let's back up. When you say Starship, what expand on that?
That is a vehicle of expression whereby your consciousness is merged with the primordial energies as exemplified by the forms. So when those blend, that is the Starship itself. And a lot of people say, I'm at the controls. They say at first it was awkward, but pretty soon, like 10 minutes or so. Some people it takes an hour. And then they say they can consciously direct this Starship to go to the light. Now, that is actually an aggregation of energies of your consciousness and the consciousness of the divine. In combination, becomes a vehicle of expression. And you can explore within that vehicle through quantum state. That's how this works.
And you started to move into a type of astral projection and out-of-body experience. Is it similar to like a deprivation tank?
I did a deprivation tank. I didn't think it was nearly as effective. These energies really prompt anything that you have an inclination to do. They also amplify intent and manifestation projected into physical reality. That's one of the things that eventualities are accelerated. It's like a catalyst, like for divorce or finding a new partner, getting that next job, success in business, whatever you imagine will be. This is just like, imagine us before we're born. We're part of God's light, and together we're projecting this crystallized reality for it to exist. It's the same exact thing. You're going back to creation, the heart of creation, to create a new experience through love. Some people go, well, there's got to be some negative something to this. I assure you, no one ever in 45, 50 years has ever had a single negative experience whatsoever inside this form while I'm in charge of protecting them, because I hold that space for them in the light, so that they're protected from everything. And literally, I think we're invisible to anything like low vibing down there, because our elevated frequency would be invisible to them anyway. So
is the music through noise canceling headphones?
No, I do it open space, although.
Oh, wow. Now that's what I'm talking about. Okay. Yeah. Continue. How is that done?
Well, I prefer it to be open space. So I've got 1,000 watts of speaker here in stereo. And then the Wooger vest in combination. That's the way I prefer to do it. But I've got a headphone system, because when I go remotely and expos and presentations, I'm going to have to keep them isolated, but it'll work with the headphones as well. I know because I've tested on myself. Actually, I don't think I've done it with anybody else so far under those circumstances, but I like that acoustical impact. I've got a PEMF system here as well, pulsed electromagnetic field therapy. Sometimes I run 528 hertz for DNA repair and considered to be the frequency of love at the same time. But it doesn't make any difference whether that's on or not. But it is a good clearing device to make this space really clean energetically for a client that's coming in for the first time.
What? Let me ask you about your clients for a second. You're in Mississippi. How do they find you?
Well, I vet them out first.
Right. Yes. Okay. Fair
I
enough.
do.
Smart.
And I want them to call me because when I talk to somebody, I can tell more about them than anything they'll ever tell me, just through the signature of their energy. So, oh my God, these things, there's so much to this. Signature identities. Oh my God. I keep going off on tangents because there's so much to this. And the thing that this brought up in my mind, my late wife, I was married for 22 years, and we had an agreement this was okay, and at times I would test this out. I said, I can link into your energy system. I'll feel when you become conscious. I'll feel when you get up. I'll feel you when you exert yourself, when you take a bath, every single thing. I will feel as if I'm doing it. And it was darn near 100% for decades. Anytime, because I'd be at work. I was a broadcast engineer for Channel 25, WEK-TV in Central Illinois. So I had to have that station on the air at 3:30 in the morning. So I'd ride my bicycle to work, and I'd sit in that chair, calm myself down, feel my energy, rest. But I would consciously connect into her energy systems by connecting the chakras. And I do that through an infinity sign and then spin them in opposite directions to make a singularity out of them, see them drawn together as one light. And then I just sit there and tactically feel the feedback because I feel energy prolifically, even beyond what my son ever saw. I could never see what he saw, the frequencies, but I could feel beyond the scope with sensitivity. There's somebody from the Golden Dawn that came up, I remember a long time ago. He says, well, this friend of mine said he's like way high up in the Golden Dawn. And I was showing him stuff I could do and my sense of energy and everything. He said, you're the most sensitive person I've ever encountered. But I could literally feel my wife, like everything. It was this phenomenal communication. Like if she was in danger, I'd know it instantly. That's the way I think we communicated before all this science we're using now. That, like my friend that saw me 480 miles away and texted me that she saw me. I thought if that sense and that ability could be refined, we could communicate back and forth just like these aliens are supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
Just mind to mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
yeah, I think that's how it was done. We depend so much on technology today, and technology is great.
it is.
It's amazing, but somewhere, and I'm going to say probably around year 0, like the last of the new dynasties, past, since probably before Cleopatra and the Greeks, right? Okay, so somewhere in there, 500 BC to now, we started to lose consciousness and the use of it.
Mm-hmm.
And once things started to go industrial, where we invented the printing press and things started to take off, and then we had the Industrial Revolution, and when all of those things started to happen, societies and cultures around the world were being pulled away from the self. There was a less and less need for it because society was getting in the way and technology was getting in the way. And that's my take. But I think that back then, consciousness was fully understood by the ancients. They totally got it, and they developed it and they used it and they utilized it. But for us today, technology and life and everything else has just gotten in the way, and we stopped exercising that part of our brain and that part of ourself. That's my take, and I think that we're starting to understand more about it and getting back into it, with research like yourself and that others are putting into this, that we're starting to understand more and more and more about consciousness and what it is and where it exists and how it finds us and how it connects the universe together. And that's my take. That's my take. Excellent. I think you're right.
Well, there's another aspect to this. I was attuned to master level Reiki like in the 90s, and that opened up a whole new arena as well. Have you ever heard of Reiki?
I've had it done.
Okay.
I've had it done. Look, you have your opinions. I have my. Reiki's the one thing that I came away from that going, okay, all right. But I know that hey, it works for people, and what works for you works for you. So yeah, I do everything once. I check it out. No, I do. So so that way, when we're talking about it, like right now, that I'm not just spewing bullshit about something that I haven't experienced. That's not cool. I try to tap into everything and experience everything. When I bring up DMT, well, hey man, there's only one way to talk about that or anything else. I've had regression therapy done. I'm going to spend a week at the Monroe Institute in a couple of months.
That's cool.
Yeah. So yeah, I have an open mind. I do.
Well, I was amazed because when people were being attuned up above, we were down in the basement at that time, and I could feel like just this wave of energy go across me, right in sync with what they were doing upstairs. And I thought, there's something to this. They call that the violet flame. A lot of people in the forum, most people will see the color violet at some point, which I think is pretty interesting. But my wife, my late wife, she taught me how to read stones, where you could literally get information from stones, which was a Native American connection. She believed she was a shaman in a past life and had that ability. She was amazing with that kind of stuff. But she taught me you don't need the symbols. But that's another thing that I learned from Reiki, was that symbols are the language of quantum state. And she, with just a thought, even in mid-conversation, if I mentioned that I had a problem with something and she wanted to zap me, as I call it, I said, "You're zapping me." And she'd just give me a smile and say, "No, I'm not doing anything." But I always knew she was. She could just do it. It's like a projection of love. So then when I started working on people, instead of using the symbols with Reiki, I just channeled unconditional love straight from the divine. Just imagining it as a column of light going through the crown chakra and through my hands. I have to remove myself, where I kind of observe what's going on there, but it heals my body as well, because I'm a channel for that. So she showed me that I didn't need the Reiki symbols at all. And I think pure love, the love of the divine, is the absolute full spectrum of healing. And that's really what this form accentuates.
Yeah, I maybe now the Reiki healer was a master, the one that I was dealing with. And a pretty big reputation, and I only mess around with the best, right?
Sure.
And so I don't know why I didn't have the experience, but at the same time, I have many friends, not one, I have many friends that can absolutely 100% read your mind. I'm telling you, telling you, read your mind.
I've done it.
Look deadpan at you and go, "You're thinking about grilled ham and cheese sandwich."
That's awesome.
Not okay, your uncle starts with a B. No, none of that crap. No. I'm talking about read your mind. I had Dahlia Burgoyne on the show last week. She is so gifted. It is beyond description what she can do. And yeah, she's, oh man, I'm telling you.
She's good.
I was standing next to her on stage for a couple of days watching this go on. She's incredible. So there is a muscle. I'm saying the word muscle. There is a muscle inside of us all, whether it's mental or physical, whatever it is that we all have. You just got to go to the gym and work out. You know,
I did that with my friend. I said, let's think of a number between 1 and 100, link our minds together, and see how many we can get correct in a row. From 1 to 100, she got 18 of them in a row correct. I got 13, but then something more magical happened. It's like our minds opened up to such an extent they were one, and I could look in, I could see anything. It freaked her out. She shut that thing down and would never do it again. There was a time where I was a camera operator at the TV station in those days. I don't know what flipped. I was doing an essential oil. And I don't know if it was sandalwood or cedarwood. I think it was sandalwood. I put it on my third eye just to see, area. And I looked at this gal. I could tell her about her dad and his flights and his airplanes, and I knew everything. It's like, and there's no question about it. It's not like you're guessing at all. It's absolute 100% assurance, as if it's you recalling your own memories. I thought that is really bizarre. I can't do that at will, though. It was like spontaneous, even though I was inviting it at that one point. But that reminds me of another time. I found this page of symbols of which I didn't know what they were. And at the time, my wife was next to me. And I said, what if I trace these out? It's called ray tracing. Trace these symbols out in front of us and just see what the effects are. Maybe we could use these as a tool. And I traced one out. And she goes, I'm just feeling cold. And it was like all of her life force was being drained out of her. I started to panic about it. I called in the angels. I said, help me with this, because I don't even know what the heck I did, and never touched those symbols again. There was one time I asked, because I wanted to be able to read minds and do that kind of thing. I asked an angel, I said, give me the ability to hear people's thoughts, because then I could maybe help them more or whatever. My wish was granted. I'm laying in bed trying to go to sleep, and as all I hear is people's thoughts everywhere around me. It felt dirty. It felt like, oh my God, so mediocre. It was like, I can't take this. It's like, just speaking of things that just eat up the energy in my mind, it was torture for 2 days. Finally, I gave up. I said, I give in. I want you to take this away and never, ever give me this back again, unless I have absolute control over it. But for now, just leave it. I don't want to ever be able to do that again.
What do your, I just have to ask, what do your neighbors think? Do they know what's going on?
They don't probably have a clue. Although when you're in the Starship and you're radiating the pure star of love, I do like to extend that out to the whole Earth and try to heal humanity. And,
because
I know, if people find that divine light within themselves, we are the temple. That's why you've got to take care of your body in every way that you can possibly do it.
When you fire that thing up, Scott, do you ever have any action in the sky?
Not that I've noticed, but there were helicopters flying around me for a while.
Yeah, not hit. Well, yeah, I'm sure. Sure the men in black are observing, but
I've seen
no ships appear outside.
Have not. Well, yeah. My friend took a video once, and that was kind of fun. It wasn't a big deal, but I had shown her that, we've got the lights that would parallel each other and fly around, but that's just kind of normal, I used to go to a UFO group, and we would watch them, and maybe 5 or 6 of us had these high-powered lasers. If you saw something unusual, you pointed at it, and then the whole group could see it. I brought binoculars once and saw this real nice, brightly, evenly lit disc and things like that. UFO wise, had a lot of friends that have seen really unusual stuff. One time I woke up in bed. Oh goodness, this gave me the protective element that I bring to this day to everybody that's in this form. I woke up and the grays were around that bed. I could not move. I was absolutely like paralyzed, and all the grays are looking at me. This is one of 3 visions, waking visions that I've had. And the only thing I felt like, I just want to get up and kill all of you. I hate you. It was like, I'm not like that. It's like, where does all this negative energy goes? And the more they held me down, the more intense it was. So I thought, I can't put up with this kind of thing anymore. Whitley Strieber's book, Communion, says, in their world, your thoughts are real. So I thought, all right, I'm gonna build a arsenal in quantum state, and I'm just gonna keep feeding that with energy. And I've done that to this day. So I thought, if you released all that in a picosecond into their environment, I could do anything with them I want, and I won't be the victim. It's going to be them.
Yeah,
So,
that's interesting. That's so.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let's stay right there. So, if jumping into that your device is bringing positive energy, can you use it to get rid of negative energy?
it seems to just displace it automatically. It's like I was referring to before, it's like the negative stuff just dissolves into the beauty of love. It's like God is the emotion of love. That's my conclusion at this point. I was just thinking about that today. That negative stuff cannot exist in that light. It just doesn't even occur to you at any point at all. It's like it doesn't even exist.
So so it dissipates?
Yeah, it's like it just dissolves. My theory is that all of our emotions, like let's say you were cheated on, for example, you've got this emotional hell that you're being drugged through. And how does that come about? I thought, now I've got it. I believe it's aggregated. Your consciousness aggregates it from the quantum field, and you're actually creating that in this form. It releases back into the quantum state and dissolves back from where it came from before you crystallized it into reality. It's amazing.
So when people reach out to you, are they doing it to, I mean, what are the, is it for physical ailments or physical situations? Is it emotional trauma? Is it to activate it? What are their reasons for contacting you?
A lot of people want to feel that energy rush.
Right.
Yeah, for the spin-off reactions of healing and to be able to circumvent the trauma. I had a friend who was into plant medicine, and she said that like an ayahuasca experience is equal to like 10 years of therapy. I'm going to interject here and say that there is the potential that one session in this thing could be equal to that, whereby instead of facing it from a logical perspective, it's going to be an emotional release that's just automatic. And you don't have to go through the hell of puking and all the things that people go through with the plant medicines. I've done 3. I did iboga, which is considered to be one of the most psychedelic on the planet, from a tree bark from the Biwiti tribe. I had visions. That was my vision of Egypt. I got to fly above it, and I saw the pyramids and the Nile right there, and it was absolute gorgeous oasis, as pristine as you could possibly imagine. And I saw a dragonfly. I asked what my connection to nature was, and this huge dragonfly, I could see into these scintillating eyes looking at me, and it went right through my head into the third eye, lodged in my brain with the wings back. It's like we exchanged information energetically. Then it flew back out, looked at me, and flew away. But that was like an electron microscope view. Just gorgeous, gorgeous image. But ever since then, these dragonflies, I mean, I can touch them, and they get on me, and they fly. I mean, hundreds of them sometimes. It's like they know that I'm connected to them. It's bizarre.
Yeah, insects. I've connected with Trip on this. I haven't told anybody about this. I live in the desert, okay, and so I have lizards all over the place. I mean, they're all over the place, everywhere out here. But I have, and especially on the south side of my house, over there, that's like Lizard City over there.
Oh.
I just leave them alone. They're just doing they're doing their thing. I enjoy them a lot. Anyway, but out in front of my garage, like 2 weeks ago, I went out and was doing something. I opened up the garage door and I see something on my driveway, and I look down, and it was a little baby lizard. Let me change cameras. Little baby lizard, probably that big around, about that big, right? But his tail was missing. He looked like a starfish. That's what he looked like. Like, you know what I mean, with his feet and his head and the tail, they were all the same size. He didn't have a long tail. He had a little stub, like he got bit off. And you can see the healing on the thing. Anyway, so I looked down at it. He didn't run away. And so we just stared at each other. And I said, right on, little man, and he just, and then like the next day, I went outside and he came running out of the grass onto my driveway, right up in front of me, looking at me. I'm like, what's up, little man? What's up, little man? And so over the last I've seen this guy every single day. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
He's just running out and his tail's getting a little longer. Right. And now I got to watch walking in the grass. I don't want to step on him. Right. It's like, I'm like all self-conscious about he's a little tiny guy, but suddenly I don't want him to go away. I've like bonded with this guy. So back to this weird situation with the insects. I went out about the same time, so like 2 weeks ago, and I'm going out to get in my Jeep in the garage, and I rounded the corner and I see down next to my Jeep, in between one of my toolboxes and my Jeep, I have a tall toolbox with drawers, right? Big, you know what I mean? Big. And there are 2 black widows.
Oh,
big ones on the spider webs coming off the toolbox, between the toolbox and my Jeep. 2 of them. Now, what do you do? Okay. Now, most people would freak, right? Go get bug spray, fly swatter, right? And kill them, right? No. So I go and I said, I'm going to be right back. You guys, we can't share this space. That's what I said. I'm talking to these frigging black widows. I go around, I get my broom. I open up the garage door. I go back and I pick them up and I went out into the yard and, released them and got them out of my garage. But that's what you did. I just don't, there isn't a need to kill. And I don't know, insects. I don't know why. Well, I don't want ants in my house. Okay. That's or things like that. That's not what I'm suggesting at all. But for some reason, humans, like dragonflies and things, we have this fear of them, and we don't want insects around us. It's really weird. And when we're dead and gone, us humans, it's insects, man, that are going to be running this planet.
Yeah,
right.
That's for sure.
We've been trying to exterminate insects forever, and there's, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Yeah. No. I love that. That dragonfly story.
That's
yeah,
cool.
yeah. But there's no ants in my house, though. Yeah.
Well, not to switch topic, but I just thought of something I should mention about symbolic manifestation from quantum state. These incidences like this are what have trained me over time. It takes forever, but they started to add up. There's this one girl I was enamored with after my wife passed away. And she had a problem with her hip or something. I said, I'll fix it. So I kind of went the Reiki route and just zapped some energy, and she recovered from whatever it was. And then there was a second something, I don't remember. But the third one, I thought, do I even attempt this? She says, I got to go to the dentist tomorrow. I thought, I said, can you wait just one day? Give me one day. Let me see what I could do. She
Well,
goes,
what was
"Okay."
the problem?
She had a toothache of some sort, a tooth infection, gum infection or something. So I take this into dream state, and this is where you can cross the threshold into the quantum realm, the symbolic realm. So in my dream vision, whatever you want to call it, I've got this needle between two of my teeth up here. I go, wow, that's really sharp pain there. Took some needle nose pliers, went in there, grabbed that needle and just slowly pulled it out, dropped it on a table, goes tink, tink, tink. I felt it with my tongue. I thought, we got that. We got that. I felt a little bit of sensitivity, but not bad. Called her up the next day. I said, how's that tooth? She says, wow, it's way better. Just got this little sensitivity. I said, just a second. I get this little download. 3 days. I said, 3 days, it'll be cured. 3 days, it was gone. And oh my God, people can get dependent if you do something like that too much, where it's like every little thing. Can you protect me? Can you help me? It's so endearing, though. I just love it. I love helping people. And I really like to really illustrate to people the potential within themselves, because it's kind of like instead of giving people fish, teach them to fish themselves. Then they can help other people along the way, you know? So that's what my initiative is with the Starship. It's to show people the divinity within themselves. We are the temple of the divine, if you look at it from Christ's viewpoint. And that Christ consciousness is prolific. I mean, that's my definition of the divine light.
Yeah, I try to avoid doctors. There's a reason to go to a doctor. You break your leg, you go to the doctor.
Yeah.
I'm not going to Scot Guariglia if I've got a broken leg. We're not fixing that remotely, Scott. Okay.
Got that right.
Okay. All right. But about a year ago, and I love my dentist. I have beautiful choppers. But about a year ago, this is what happened. I wrapped the show, and it was nothing. It was crazy. So I had a slice of pizza that I had heated up in my oven, a frigging slice of pizza. I'm sitting in my family room. I turn on the TV. I sit down. Everything's fine. I bite into the slice of pizza, and electricity shot through my head. And it was this bottom eye tooth right here.
Ah.
And oh my God, that was the worst night of my life. I couldn't go. It was too late. You know, it's 10:30 at night. I took medication that I had here in the house that barely knocked it out. It didn't really, but I was awake all night long. At 9 o'clock in the morning, I called my dentist, and I drove straight there. I'm not sure if I would have called you.
No.
In that kind of situation. You know what I
That's
mean?
too deep. Yeah. Way too deep.
I avoid that stuff. I love my dentist, though. You know what? I love going just to hang out with them. They're such a great dentist office. But I just avoid doctors. It's really weird how I've got great insurance, right? Every time I feel something weird, I've got to, I can go. I don't.
They got their place,
I just think it's mind over matter in a lot of cases.
I think so too. There is so much you can do. I've got a curved spine and a little degenerated disc, and literally I've been able to work with that by imagining that energy as a point of light at the base of my spine, running it up and down. If I can tactily feel what I'm doing through my visualization so that I can feel it go between each individual vertebrae. Then I know I've got it and just keep running it up and down, putting that light through there. It's like, man, I'll tell you what, after a while, if you sit there and do that for half an hour, it can really, really produce a very strong beneficial effect.
You said something earlier. I want to go back and visit. You said you sleep half of the night in the machina behind you, right?
Yeah, in the
That means
Starship.
a machine. Yeah, in the Starship. That's good. It is indeed a Starship. But you said the other half of the night is in under a pyramid. Is the pyramid above your bed in your bedroom?
I put a air mattress on the floor, and then my pyramid sits, on the floor as well. Mine are unique. I use a quartz crystal at the apex, so the virtual projection of the points is actually internal to the crystal. Whatever crystal.
Wait! Don't miss. You're missing the question.
Oh, okay.
Do you have a pyramid in your bedroom?
Yes. I have no regular bed. I sleep in these forms.
Okay. So it's an air mattress in your bedroom. You have an air mattress with the pyramid above it.
Yes, the pyramid sits on the floor, right with the air mattress.
Okay, dude, I'm thinking about doing this myself.
Okay, 6.5 feet. Right. That's my baseline.
I have a king size bed, but I have the bed. It's a king size bed, but I have it on a low metal platform. It's probably 4 feet or 4 inches. So the bed is low to the ground. So I could build. Oh man, my freaking headboard is mounted to the wall. I got to think about this. I've been. Yeah.
I gave away my bed in lieu of this because you've got a perfect square, base. But anywhere inside there, I know like the King's Chamber is about 1/3 up, but you don't really have to be up that high. But I'll tell you what, that systemic energy increase is very significant and noticeable. You're going to notice your libido goes off the scales. And that was a big deal back in the 70s.
Well, that was the whole reason for doing that in the 70s. But I have a full grounding setup.
Okay,
so I've got a grounded mattress. I have grounded pillowcases. I put on the whatever those are called, the EEG stickies, right? They go on, those plug in. Yeah. I look like a medical experiment when I go to bed. But so I'm into this.
That's cool.
One of the things I want to ask you about dreaming like that, because when you ground properly, like I do, the dream state is insane. I look forward to going to bed. I do too. Yeah.
I feel like I'm talking to myself because you're just like me.
Yeah. So what's the dream state like? Well, 1 in the Starship, but 2 under the pyramid.
Well, in the initial pyramid days, I got to tell you, this is really strange. I went into the same dream sequence, interdispersed with other dreams, but this one had continuity where I was literally going to a college in a classroom with field studies all about energy. And I got into like matches, like mental stuff, like judo and kind of like in the Matrix, I remember one time I had these military people and they were watching me, and there was this big warehouse and I had to fly up to the one corner of the ceiling, fly to the other corner, and then go around the square of the ceiling as fast as I could do it. I had other times where I'd be laying horizontal in free space and rotate my body at 90 degrees at will, just exercising my ability to levitate and do that kind of thing. There was one time before the X-Files, and I was going through this facility, and that's all I could see were like the grid system that this building was made of. And it was like the Matrix, like this blue scintillating light. I'm sure a lot of what the Matrix came up with was from things like this. But I could explore that facility, and I actually watched them operating on a human hybrid kind of situation. Saw the pods where they were incubating these hybrids. And I walked around there, walked right in front of this guy with a machine gun. I mean, literally like a foot in front of his face. And I thought, that guy can't see me at all. But I got in with this battle with this one guy, and he blasted me right through this wall. And all of a sudden, I'm in a whole new universe or dream or whatever. I thought, that guy just killed me. It was about that easy to transition. I thought, well, I hope it's that easy in this life. Now, my son, we went through graveyards, and he could see entities. And I asked one of them once, I said, will you talk to me? And my son looks at me, he says, yeah, he says briefly. He's like real abrupt. Literally, him and anybody else in the graveyard that we saw were contemplating their lives. One of the things I got interested in was this ghost box designed by Steve Huff of Huff Paranormal.
Oh, yeah. I've had Steve on the show. He's great.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, I used a dodecahedron for an antenna. Built one of those things. Oh my God. I'll tell you what, I've had hundreds of hours talking to people. I even had the Galactic Federation came through and identified themselves, past presidents. Depends where I was at the time. Got a friend out in Florida. We get a think tank going and still sometimes put other people in a conference call. I haven't done it hardly at all this year because my tablet, it wouldn't fire up anymore, but I was doing this for quite a while. I learned a lot of stuff. The day Prince died, I interviewed him. This thing on YouTube, I put it on there. It's got like 20-some thousand views on it. But I asked him, I said, what killed you? This gets really weird. Somebody comes on, they say, it was actions of the stovepipe. I thought, what is the stovepipe? I looked it up. That's unsanctioned information flow through government. And they implicated the Bush-Cheney administration, all this other stuff. I don't know. But at the end, this guy goes, he died a wealthy man. But I get sound effects through my quantum radio. And I asked, Prince, can you sing something for me? And he's saying, Own the Stars. So I just created a song with AI today, inspired by Prince. And that's become the tagline for my business, which I just put this together last October. So this is all new. Inspired by Prince, the day that he died. And,
Fascinating.
I think he helped me with the song. It's beautiful.
Yeah,
people are going, where can I get this song? I said, I don't know what to tell you. It's not published.
One quick question. This is the masculine side of my brain asking this. Do you use 52 degrees or specifically, what is it, 51.84 degrees when you construct a pyramid?
Oh, the angle is based on the pi ratio. Yeah, the 3.1415926535 and on. That was indicated by Dr. Flanagan in Pyramid Power. So yeah, it's like that slant ratio of about 52 degrees. Yeah, that's the only one. I've never done the Nubian design before.
So if somebody, do you sell kits?
I sell the pyramids. And they have no connectors. They just open right up in seconds and fall away. That way I can flip them over my shoulder, take them to a beach. I've had them in hotels. I've had them in forests. I've had them everywhere. It's amazing. Some people think the proximity of where you're at would influence the energy. But I got to say, even with the dodecahedron up like on 10 floors in a hotel.
How big is it? How big is the dodecahedron?
The dodecahedron I designed at 6.5 feet in diameter.
And that unfolds? It unfolds?
Well, the dodecahedron does not. That's all connector based, but the pyramid unfolds. Yeah, the pyramid does.
And is the pyramid available in different sizes?
No, I just do the one size for meditation. I don't sell very many.
What size is that?
Well, it gives you a base length of 6.5 feet, which works well. I didn't want to make it too big. Yeah, that way your whole body can fit in there nicely. So it's kind of the size of a twin mattress. You know, that's what I got in there. And that's where I sleep every night once I found out. It used to be just transient after work to regenerate for years. And of course, my wife probably wouldn't have wanted to have to sleep in there as the primary bed.
Do you have to orient it to true north?
Yeah, I do. I use a compass and put it right on. Well, you got to go like 2 degrees off true north, but straight out works fine. If you look at the cellular integrity of our body and out in nature with sacred geometrical proportions, some of them are a little bit approximate. It's like everybody isn't the same height and ratio to their body, but you always have the general proximity of the limbs and everything relative to each other. So I think if you're off just a little bit, you're still going to get a good amount of energy from it. But I like to have it optimized. So I make sure it's as true north as I can position. In fact, my house, when they put this in, that was the number one criteria. I want this thing aligned north and south perfectly so that all my forms that I put in here will fit nicely for conservation of space.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Do you have pyramid parties?
No, you know what? I've never exposed this to the public at all. In general, I talked to groups periodically, had a few friends over, but I got divine guidance. I use a radio as a divination tool. I ask a question, I push that button, and the lyrics of that song give me the answer.
Right.
I'd say 30-40% of the time it doesn't work, but when it does, here's what happened. I had to make a decision. Was I going to retire from my publishing job to do this full time or not? So I asked God, I said, what do I do? I pushed that button. I swear as I'm sitting here, that song said, I've worked through the metaverse for 2 years. It described intricately all the connections that were made. So now it's your part. You got to do your turn to make this happen. And I knew instantly what I had to do, and I resigned the next day.
Yeah, right on, right on. What about playing guitar in there?
Well,
have you done it?
I don't play guitar. I used to play piano and keyboards.
Well, you can't bring that in there. Do you have friends? I'm just messing with you, Scott, but I'm serious. Have you had a player come over with an acoustic guitar and play at 432 hertz and just get those frequencies ringing?
No, but I've played a lot of music at 432 and a lot of solfeggios.
Yeah, yeah. Have you heard of the Integratron?
No.
Okay. Take out your pen. You have a pen right there, right?
Oh, I'd go get one.
Got Integratron.
I'll remember it.
You won't. And the Integratron was built by a guy named, I only have a little bit of time left, but you've got to go check this out. It was built by a guy named George Van Tassel in Landers, California, not that far from my house. And he lived at a place called Giant Rock that he owned. It's the biggest freestanding boulder rock in the world, and it happens to be pink granite, and it's 10 stories tall. It's ginormous. It's the craziest thing you've ever seen. But that was also the first UFO sighting ever, and and this is in the late 40s. And so anyway, long story short, George Van Tassel took some rides on some flying saucers that landed out there in Landers. Very famous. You've heard of Contact in the Desert. Well, Contact in the Desert was started by George Van Tassel. And so he had those UFO conferences out there in the desert for about 30 years, all the way to the 1970s, 20 years. Anyway, he says that E.T. gave him the building plans for the Integratron, and that it was an anti-aging, age reversal device, and it could only be built from wood with no metal. And it's huge. It's still there. It's great. It's a white dome. It's ginormous, and the top part rotates, and it sits on its base. It looks like an observatory. It's big too. This is not, some little 10 by 10 thing. This is a ginormous, beautiful piece of work. And so the top rotates, but here's the trippy thing. It's all done with sacred geometry. You have to see it. It's beautiful. Wow. But acoustically, because it's all wood on the inside, it's got perfection with audio. So bands have gone in there and recorded albums. Right. They
Mhm.
do a lot of sound healing, sound bowls, and other stuff. It's a beautiful resort, but it's very similar in its intention as your work. It's very similar. So you need to check out the Integratron. And if you ever get a chance, ever get an opportunity, and you come out to California, to Los Angeles, go visit the Integratron and go see Giant Rock. It's such a big part of our community and what we do here with healing and acoustics and anti-aging and these kinds of things. But the plans for it came from E.T. to George Van Tassel. Yeah, it's an incredible building. Yeah, let me see. We're already off the network. Hang on for a second. Let me pull this up. Integratron. Okay, there it is right there. Boom. Okay. Yes. Done. Yes. Okay. Boom. Okay. Now check this out. I'm going to show it to you right now. This is the Integratron. You got to love technology, man. Technology is absolutely incredible that we can just do this in real time. But this is the Integratron. I've done many shows on it over the years, but there it is.
Oh, wow. God, it looks like the top of a silo, doesn't it?
Like an observatory, but now built without metal. No nails, no screws. And you can see how the top rotates. You see that? You see the mechanism for it? Yeah, it's absolutely incredible. And that sits out in Landers, California.
Huh. Have any studies or observations been made that
this is a famous, you need to go and check it out. It's a fun, you can Wikipedia this. There is so much written on this over the years. Just go and do the rabbit hole on this. The Integratron is incredible. It's absolutely incredible.
Thanks for the tip on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Scott, thank you so much. Where can everybody reach out to you?
Well, you mean like my phone number?
No, I'm not going to give your phone number out in the air. What are you, crazy? We've got divine geometricaluniverse.com.
Yes,
we've got
sir,
that website up. Is that the easiest place to reach out to you?
That's kind of the universal nexus point, but they can look me up by name on Facebook, or Divine Geometrical Universe on Facebook, or Divine Geometrical Universe Testimonials. And then on TikTok, it's my name with 601 after it.
Okay, cool. Fantastic, man. What a great conversation tonight, man. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
I did as well. Thank you so much.
You're the best. Thank you, Scott. Have a great night and be safe out there. And happy sleeping.
Thanks, Jimmy. I'll too.
Talk to you.
All right.
Great show. Thank you so much. Scot Guariglia. What a great conversation tonight. Pyramid research and everything else that we covered. We've got his website up. It is in the description below over on our website and throughout social media. And so there you go. And you know what I'm about to say? It is my Friday. Okay. It's your Thursday. Everybody have a great, safe, fun, and amazing weekend. I'll see you right back here on Monday. But until then, all I've got is go back. Fade to Black is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee Newman, and Michelle Freed. Special thanks to Bill, John, Dex, Jessica, Dennis, and Kevin. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music by Doug Aldrich. Intro, Space Boy. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2024 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Go back, Lee Tappy.